Welcome back to the Countdown to Kickoff, presented by Harlem Beer Distribution of North Carolina, also Greater Raleigh Sports Alliance. We are at Sticks and Vines in Durham having a great time. So far we've talked with Shaw head football coach Adrian Jones, North Carolina Central head football coach Trey Oliver, and in the last segment we were joined by Marcus Hilliard, the head football coach at Elizabeth City State. Well, our next coach, he and I go a ways back. And you know, they say fifth time is the charm, right? Fayetteville State had gone to the CIAA championship 5 times in a row, got the victory this year, tough victory, but got it nonetheless. Richard Hayes, 8 seasons as the head football coach at Fayetteville State, joining us here on the Countdown to Kickoff. What's going on, Coach Hayes?
Hey, brother, how you doing, man? I'm so glad to be here. This is a beautiful setting. Let's do it.
I appreciate it. Coach Hayes and I go back to when he was an assistant coach at A&T, and I was in athletic administration at North Carolina A&T. So let's start here. Thoughts on winning that elusive CIAA championship?
Well, as you stated earlier, it had been 4 years in a row that we had went to Salem and fell a little short. But this time I knew the guys were determined. It came down to the wire, but it was truly a 60-minute battle, and we came out on top, won the championship.
And then the season, just talk about the season as a whole, 9-3, 7-1 overall in the CIAA.
Season started off a little slow for us. We had a lot of preseason accolades, but I knew we were a little young football team. And we had a couple of experienced quarterbacks. We started out the season 2-2, and Coach Fagans at the time was the offensive coordinator. Those guys wanted to make a change at quarterback. So we went with a freshman quarterback, Damari Daniels, and a rotating Caden Davis behind him, another redshirt freshman. And those 2 kids carried us for the remainder of the season on to the CIAA championship.
You know, I had a feeling it may be a special season last year for this reason. And I had been around the Fayetteville State program for a couple of years. Beating Pembroke, that had never happened in that rivalry. And you were able to do that, I believe, to open the season. Speak to that victory. I think it was 15-13, a 2-point victory in beating Pembroke.
Just getting our kids prepared over the summer and knowing that we had doing something we had never been able to do before as a program was really special for us. We didn't want to back down. We knew the history that was against us, but we just took the bull by the horns and said, let's go. They got to come in our house and beat us, and that's pretty tough to do.
What did appearing in the Division II playoffs, can you speak to that experience and what maybe that revealed to you?
That we have a long way to go, but it was a truly great experience to be in the Division II playoffs, playing against Delta State. That was another brand of football that we hadn't seen before, so that gives us something to strive for in the future. We anticipate trying to get back to the NCAA playoffs, and we know that when you get there, you have to bring it on a whole nother level, so we'll be prepared the next time we get there.
For you personally, you were able to coach in the HBCU Legacy Bowl, which showcases HBCU players. What did that mean to you?
Just to get to know all those kids from all around the United States and they all being HBCU students and as student athletes, man, it was great getting the chance to work with Coach Oliver and his staff. That was a great experience. That was a great week. Doug Williams and Shaq Harris, they did an outstanding job putting that together. And, you got to win it to get there, so I hope we can do that again.
And you definitely did that. Let's talk a little bit about the 2023 season upcoming. You had a lot of losses on really both sides of the football, but you've got some guys. You actually had some young guys that really played well for you that made all CIAA all-rookie, like, for instance, Anthony Binyard, defensive lineman, running back Derek Austin Jr. Those are 2 young guys that are going to come back for you in 2023.
Yes, Anthony Binyard ended up being our starting 3 technique for the remainder of the season. After about the 3rd week, he's a dominant force inside. He has quickness, tenacity, power, and he's very difficult to block. In a running back room, Derek Austin kind of took the reins with Eli Henry once Smiley McQueen got hurt last year against Pembroke. So those 2 guys we're expecting now to kind of help step up and lead both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball.
So speak, and those are two guys, but who are some of the veterans that are kind of, I know your offensive line is going to be solid, but maybe some of the veterans that are coming back. Let's start offensively, who you're expecting to step up in 2023.
As I mentioned earlier, our two quarterbacks, Damari Daniels and Caden Davis, will both be back. And, you know, Damari is 1-2 and Caden's 2, but, you know, everybody knows both of those guys are going to play. We returned 5-star no linemen. We have a plethora of running backs that are coming back, but I'm waiting for one of those guys to step up and be the guy. Kind of right now they're all on the same plane, and one of them's going to have to step up. We feel really good about our receiving core with a young man by the name of Trey Good. Came to us last year from UNC Charlotte. So that's the offensive side of the ball. Another young man I might have to mention is our tight end, Khalil Diarra. He's a young man that we feel is going to bring a tremendous threat on both the run game and pass game for our offense.
And then defensively, because I've shared this with you, you know, especially the last couple of years, that defense has really come alive, you know, to kind of complement the, matter of fact, it may have been the defense a little bit more than the offense last year, but speak to some of those guys defensively that you're expecting to step up.
Well, I definitely have to start up front with Anthony Benyard, Gerald Simpson at linebacker. Kentrell Caldwell is coming back. He was an all-CIAA performer last year. We lost a few guys in the secondary with Brandon Barnes-Brown graduating, Kenny Merritt graduating. So we're looking for guys like Kobe Merritt, Kenny's younger brother, to step up and kind of take the leadership role in the secondary. We have Tyron Belcher coming back. Quantavious Randolph is coming back. Those are our corners, and we're trying to establish a free safety. So we're going to be on defense.
Yeah, and I mean, you have been the last couple of years. Let's talk about a guy, Joshua Williams. So he was drafted going back to the 2022 draft by the Chiefs, got significant playing time last year. Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl. Speak to, that's got to make you proud, but also what it means for the Bronco program as a whole.
First off, isn't that a great story, man? That kid, that's a great story. That kid, you know, from Fayetteville, coming to Fayetteville State and the journey that he took, and us knowing that he was going to get an opportunity to take it to the next level, getting drafted, going to the Chiefs, making plays throughout the season, going to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, and then a couple of weeks ago he came back and hosted a youth camp for us at Fayetteville State. So really proud of Josh and everything he's accomplished, man, and he's going to do really well in the NFL.
No doubt. And you got another kid, Keyshawn James, right? He's just signed with a CFL team.
He's in Canada. Hadn't heard a lot from him since he's been out the country, but before he left, he called, and I know he's going to do really well. Keyshawn has been a dominant force in the CIAA throughout his time, and I know he's going to do the same thing in Canada.
So you opened the season on Thursday, August the 31st. We talked about playing against Pembroke, getting the victory over Pembroke, you know, on last year. Speak to them. This is you know, that Pembroke program is a good program, but this has become a really good rivalry between Fayetteville State and Pembroke.
Well, it just intensified with Coach Hall going from Chowan to Pembroke. I believe they took, you know, I thought I was kind of rid of Coach Hall. I heard that Chowan was leaving the conference last year, so I say we're done with Coach Hall. But then he gets the Pembroke job, and then he takes 25 or so guys from the Chowan team and adds them onto the Pembroke roster. So they have formed kind of a little all-star team over there. So, you know, it is what it is. It's going to be a great game, a great atmosphere. Thursday night down in UNC Pembroke, 6 o'clock. It's going to be live. I know it. We're going to have to be ready. I know they'll be ready, and let the chips fall where they may.
You got a tough schedule. So you start out at Pembroke, then you're at home against Lenore Ryan, then you've got Lincoln, but then you're on the road for the next 3 games, all CIAA games. I mean, that's a tough schedule right there in the middle of the season.
It's very tough. Last year we had the 3 home games in a row, so that was tough to me as a head coach as well, because you have to keep those guys occupied in their city for 3 straight weeks. But the schedule is the schedule. You can't run from it. We're going to play our schedule, and we're going to be prepared each and every week.
And then last thought, of course, you coached under Bill Hayes, the legendary coach. You were an assistant under him, your uncle. Just speak to, I mean, just a legend. You just think about, you know, the first black coach in the ACC, right? What he was able to do at Winston-Salem State, at A&T. Speak to what he or who he means to you.
Well, my first image of him is right here in the city of Durham. Of course, you know, I grew up here in Durham, and Coach's family, my dad and him are brothers, so he used to come around, and I was trying to figure out who is this guy who had all this money, nice sports car. And I'm 6 or 7 years old, and then we started going to Winston-Salem State games through our middle school years, and once we got to high school, we moved to Winston. I went to Carver, and just fed right into Winston-Salem State. So I've been following him, played for him at A&T, coached with him at A&T, and he still coaches me to this day. He just means so much, and he turned 80 years old 1st of June, and we celebrated him. He's doing a marvelous health, plays a lot of golf, and I'm gonna be calling him up before the season starts this year. You better believe that.
Definitely. Give it up for Richard Hayes, the head football coach at Fayetteville State of the CIAA champion, Fayetteville State Broncos, who joins us here on the countdown to kickoff. Up next, you're going to hear from Johnson C. Smith, head football coach, Maurice Flowers.